Hi kids, I'm Aunt Vickey, and I'm here to read you your story hour. I know sometimes mom gets busy or dad's busy, so we want to make sure that we read you some really good books that my kids and other kids have always loved. This is brought to you by Citizens, so if you want a book that you really like read to you, all you have to do is get grandma or your parents to write a little note, tell them what book you want read, what your name is, and if you'll drop it off down at Citizens, then Aunt Vickey may be reading your book next week. Doesn't that sound fun? Are you ready for a new story? Okay, this week's story is Peter Pan, because if you ask Mommy and Daddy, there's a play that's going on pretty soon up in Floyd, and it's Peter Pan, so if you get a chance, go see it. But this was my kids' favorite story when they were little, so let's read it now. Are you ready? Peter Pan. Wendy, John, and Michael Darling lived in London. One night, Wendy woke to find a strange little boy sitting on the floor who was crying. "My name is Wendy," she said. "Who are you? Why are you crying?" "I'm Peter Pan," the boy replied. "I'm crying because my shadow won't stick to me." "Don't cry," Wendy said. "We can fix that." And she sewed Peter's shadow to the tips of his shoes. Peter was delighted. "Fly back to Neverland with me and my fairy, Tinker Bell," Peter begged. "You could be our mother and take care of us." "Can you teach me to fly?" Wendy asked. Peter nodded. "Let's wake John and Michael," Wendy said. "You can teach us all to fly, and then we'll leave for Neverland." The children were soon flying around the room. Then swoosh! Out the window they all flew. Wendy, John, and Michael flew behind Peter Pan and Tinker Bell, following the golden arrows that pointed the way to Neverland. Finally, they were flying over the island. "The Lost Boys live with me and Tinker Bell. I'm their captain," Peter said. "The Indians live over there, and the mermaids live in the lagoon. And there are pirates, too, led by Captain Hook." "Pirates!" exclaimed Wendy, John, and Michael, all in the same breath. Wendy was frightened, but Michael and John, they wanted to see the pirates right away. "Hook's the meanest pirate ever," Peter warned, "but he's afraid of the crocodile." The crocodile bit off Hook's hand, and he liked the taste so much that it follows him around. He's hoping for more. Luckily for Hook, the crocodile swallowed a clock. It goes tick-tock, tick-tock, and warns Hook when the crocodile is nearby. "Oh my," said Wendy. "She's not sure if she really wants to stay in Neverland after all." Peter led Wendy, John, and Michael to his house under the woods. They entered through a hidden door in an old tree stump. When the Lost Boys saw Wendy, they shouted, "Hooray! Will you be our mother?" "I'm only a little girl," Wendy answered. "I have no experience." But the Lost Boys looked so sad that she said, "I'll do my best." That night, Wendy tucked the boys into bed and told them the tale of Cinderella. Life was pleasant in the cozy house under the woods. Wendy took care of the boys who explored the island during the day. At night, they gathered for meals, played make-believe games, and listened while Wendy told them stories. One day, Peter and the children went exploring near the mermaid's lagoon. Suddenly, Peter yelled, "Pirates! Take cover!" The boys ran away, and Peter and Wendy hid. Peter and Wendy could see the pirates had tied up Tiger Lily. She was the Indian princess. The pirates had left her on a rock in the lagoon. Peter was really afraid that Tiger Lily would drown when the tide came in. He just had to save her. In a voice that sounded just like Captain Hook's, he shouted, "Set her free!" "But Captain," the pirates yelled, "you ordered us to bring her here." "Let her go!" Peter roared, still sounding just like Hook. "Aye, aye," the pirates said, and so they set Tiger Lily free. She swam quickly back to the Indian camp. When Captain Hook found out what had happened, he knew Peter had tricked his pirates. Hook became furious. That night, Wendy told the boys a story about 3 children who left their parents and flew to Neverland. Their mother and father missed them very much. The children loved Neverland. They never forgot their home. "Did they ever go back?" the Lost Boys asked. "Oh yes," Wendy replied. "They flew home to their mommy and daddy, and everyone was happy." The story made Wendy, John, and Michael homesick. They decided to fly home the next morning. "If you come back with us," Wendy told the lost boys, "I'm sure our mother and father would adopt you." "Hooray!" shouted the boys. "Yay!" They were jumping with joy. Wendy asked Peter if he and Tinkerbell would come home with them too. But Peter didn't want to live where grown-ups could tell him what to do. Peter was sad that his friends were leaving. Still, he wanted the children to arrive home safely, so he asked Tinkerbell to guide them on their trip. Early the next morning, Tinkerbell and the children left the house under the woods. But Captain Hook's pirates were hiding nearby. They captured all the children, tied them up, and marched them towards the pirate's ship. Tinkerbell escaped and hurried back to tell Peter what had happened. "It's Hook or it's me this time," yelled Peter to Tinkerbell as they flew off to save Wendy and the boys. On the pirate's ship, Captain Hook demanded, "Who wants to become a pirate?" The boys shook their heads. "Then make them walk the plank," Hook roared. The boys tried to look brave, but they were so afraid. But the tick-tock, suddenly they heard the tick-tock of the crocodile. Ooh, tick-tock, tick-tock. Now it was Captain Hook's turn to be afraid, and he was. But the tick-tock was only Peter. He was pretending to be the crocodile. He flew onto the deck and shouted, "I've got you now, Hook!" Captain Hook jumped up and swung at Peter with his sword. Peter was quick and stepped away. He slashed at Hook with his own sword until they came close to the edge of the ship. Peter lunged with his sword, and Hook fell into the sea, where the crocodile was waiting for him. And that was the end of Captain Hook. When Peter was certain that Hook was gone forever, he and Tinkerbell set off for London with Wendy and the boys. Wendy's parents were so happy to see their children again. Mr. and Mrs. Darling hugged Wendy, John, and Michael, and they did agree to adopt the lost boys. They asked Peter to stay with them also. But he said, "I'm going to stay in Neverland where I will never have to grow up." "Goodbye then, Peter. We'll miss you," everyone called. Peter Pan and Tinkerbell waved goodbye, and then they flew home to Neverland. Well, I hope you enjoyed this story. Peter Pan was always a good story. The kids always love it. And I can't wait to read you another book next time. So stay tuned and listen while Aunt Vickey reads you another story.